welcome back to the Game Souk. This is week 2 for me in on Crosby Street in New York City, where Miles works. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, Miles. And I just want to do a very quick disclaimer that these are not recommendations to buy, sell, or hold any security. These are our own opinions. We may or may not hold any positions in the companies that we mention. Again, personal opinions. So let's kick off. It's been a really big week for UGC platforms. It's been a heavy week, and I think that we have a lot to talk about, both in Fortnite and in Roblox. I'm going to start off with the lighter news, which is an Epic. We had flagged after the new CEO Josh D'Amaro pointed out in his first shareholder report that really the partnership with Epic was their go-to market on the technology front. This week on the earnings report, he gave a shout out to Epic about this idea of collaboration, and he said that Epic Games is central to Disney's strategy for reaching younger consumers. So we were pretty excited to see that. And just on that front, I want to share my screen again because I want to show some really cool Star Wars activity this week. Can you guys see that? So this was just awesome to see. I mean, so many games. I don't know if anybody wants to chime in on their favorites, but I loved, well, first our favorite, which we're totally biased on, is Bloom Games Ewok Survival, because we've announced our investment there from the 88 perspective, and also I absolutely loved Droid Tycoon Future Trash. Here it is. It was just so much fun to see these really high quality games all launched together, and just the idea was so impactful to me because I was around when EA was negotiating to launch their exclusive Star Wars games. They launched 6 over the years. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars. They made billions of dollars. But it's just really cool that what we always say, Eliza coined it, I think, a developer in his or her bedroom can create with these kind of tools now. So anyway, with that kind of lighter note, we will go, I want to go to this heavier topic, which is the algorithm. And we've been talking a lot this week about the power of the algorithm, and the algorithm has actually surfaced in a lot of social media news as well. This really surfaced for us boldly when we were at the World Builder Summit, and I was on stage with Justin Perez, and he said, the reason we were kind of lucky to be in Grow a Garden and Steal a Brain Rot was because the algorithm favored those kind of games. Now we've seen the algorithm shift. We also, had an earnings report in which Roblox, blamed a lot of the changes that they've made on age verification, and then we've got a lot of unhappy creators around other decisions that they've made. So we're gonna kick off with that, but then before I do, I just want to give you a few more headlines. We're going to also talk with, I'll have Mike kick off the discussion on AI developments around, Google's answer to OpenClaw with Rummy, and also another one that really surprised us was OpenAI's launch of a phone, which doesn't seem that commercially viable, but anyway. And then also we definitely want to talk about SpaceX and Anthropic's data center deal that was announced. And then finally, Keshav will dive into the Unity AI beta and also the AI tool from Roblox. So I think first, let's go ahead and just kick off with Mike.
On Roblox, yeah?
On Roblox, yeah.
So I mean, there's many facets to this discussion, but the common thread is disappointment, I suppose, particularly with Roblox management here. But their quarterly earnings that they reported on May 1st, so we didn't cover it in our last Game Souk, was very problematic. They they had the opportunity in terms to Angie's point on sort of seeing the age verification issues and where that might throttle, especially new user acquisition and onboarding. But they never reset the bar there. So that news all surfaced and their actions began in January and February. So towards the beginning of the quarter. And in my opinion, that would have been the time to say, hey, we're going to need to withdraw our guidance and we're seeing things differently and the ramp's going to be different. But they didn't do that. Instead, they shocked the street by having an okay first quarter and then just decimating their guidance for the second quarter and the rest of the year. By the second quarter reset was by 28%, and on the metrics we care about, namely bookings, and the rest of the year was by over 20%. Those are enormous numbers from investor perspectives, and no management team with reasonable visibility should be resetting guidance from one quarter to the next by more than a couple of percent. That just doesn't happen. Now, we do understand that there are some, if I'm being at all generous here, there are some exogenous circumstances, state actions and country actions they couldn't have completely anticipated. But all of that being said, just a horrendous quarter. I think the stock at one point was trading off almost 30%, and it landed down, kind of roughly 20%, having already, reset pretty significantly. So you're now at a point where, the Roblox stock spent most of last summer in the $130 range, kind of plus or minus 10, and it's now it's now squarely in the 40s, and most of the previously fairly bullish sell-side analysts, so the analysts that cover that stock, would have had price targets well into the hundreds. And you just never see this. You saw folks with $100+ price targets reset their price target to $50. Okay. Yeah. And not just one, like several of them. Right. And I say that because the importance is that the management has lost the confidence of the street, meaning they're not communicating with investors well. They don't have visibility, and they're not managing to metrics that investors care about at this time. And the big reason for that, which we know, is that they have, again, they didn't plan this, but they have not handled the age verification situation well. And then they also have kind of, which I'll leave this discussion to James and others, but they've pissed off the developer community in different ways as well. And so having those things happen at the same time is deeply problematic. And at this point, rather than a long monologue, I would just say that I think one of the best things that could happen from an investor standpoint is having shareholders come out and publicly challenge this management team. Now, they're not going to be able to make major changes because Dave Baszucki is a control. The way that the separate share class works is he's got super majority voting power. But all the same, this is one of the first times in the last, I would say, 5 years, really post-pandemic, this is one of the first times that you could actually talk about this company being vulnerable to, I'll use the phrase again, exogenous forces from a market perspective, be it shareholder uprisings or even, potentially bids for the company, because the market cap has shrunk so much. So the overall value of Roblox is now 1/3 of what it was for most of last year, which is, wow. It's just a shocking state of affairs.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And also the initial take, and I want James to dive in here, but the initial take from developers was, well, they raised the developer payout by 42%. So this might not be good for Wall Street, but it's actually pretty good for developers. And James, you've been a developer in the trenches, creator for many, many years. Give us the in the trenches view from a developer perspective. And also you're a great analyst, so give us your view on the company as well. The other side.
There's been a lot the last week. It's been exhausting. I think there was some positives from a dev side that came out of the Q1 results. So like you said, they did up the DevX rate, which means that developers are going to earn more. There is some caveats with that. It is only going to come from players that are 18 plus and US. Obviously, the US typically spends more than most countries anyway. And then there's that, target of they want you to be building for the 18 plus, right? That's essentially what they're saying to the developers is, you build and attract players that are older, then we're going to pay you more. They did add another caveat, which is, your game has to have R15 enabled. And for those that don't know, that's basically their latest technology with making sort of more humanoid avatars, which a lot of the community didn't like, and it feels very unnecessary. Roblox is very well known for being blocky, and management don't want it to be blocky, I guess is the only way to really to put it. So that did come out. But then apart from that, I think that's where most of the positives sort of like end, really. I think Mike and I have been talking about Mike, what do you call it? 2x2 is it called? Yeah, where you can
2x2 matrix.
Yeah, and basically, we've seen this before. I think it was back in 2021 where investors were upset and the stock dropped a lot, but like the community wasn't upset and it still had astronomical growth. We saw it sort of last summer as well, where investors get upset by a lot of things, I'm sure. But if the community's happy, it's normally okay. Or if you make some changes and the community is unhappy and investors are happy, that's okay. This is the first time in a very long time, if not ever, that I have seen both parties upset at the same time, where the community is unhappy and investors are unhappy. I think Roblox this week, on top of the earnings report, have followed up with some even more additional changes, which most investors probably won't care about, but like the community cares about a lot. And that is just like some public APIs are changing. They're completely axing them and getting rid of them, which is essentially going to break two of the biggest games on the platform. And that has, understandably upset the community. And they obviously don't like the age changes. The age changes like make sense. So when we look at this at a broader point of view, like they make sense. I can see why the community is unhappy. Like I am also unhappy. It is frustrating. But with the PR and the actual safety element and stuff like that, you can see why they made those changes. But yeah, it's been a rough week, that's for sure.
Can you explain what will go away on the platform, and please donate, and just the whole concept, because it's a really kind of native piece of the Roblox community culture. Yeah,
so Robux is the on-platform currency. To get it, you either earn it as a developer or you buy it. And then anyone that has kids will have probably at some point bought it. The other way you can get it is donating it to each other in a game called Please Donate. Essentially what that happens is you can create a game pass. So you become a mini developer. You create a game pass for yourself, and you can display like your booth. You can put like a little comment on there and say what it's for. And so like I have gone in there and donated to people that have said it's my birthday. It probably isn't their birthday, but it's their birthday, or like they're really saving up for like a certain item and stuff like that. YouTubers will do it for, like content. It's very Mr. Beast style type thing. That, hey, go and do this and you can earn 10,000 Robux. And so they're basically axing that API, so it's no longer available. Their argument for getting rid of it is with Roblox Plus, you can send Robux directly to each other, which is great and does make a lot of sense. The caveats, of course, because this is Roblox, with sending Robux to each other is you can only send 500 Robux a day. And you can only send a maximum of 1,000 Robux a month, which, for some people probably like, oh, that's a lot. That works out to be like $10. Some of these YouTubers give away millions of Robux because it makes really good content. And we've probably all seen TikToks and YouTube videos where people just give away loads of money. Mr. Beast gives away like quite literally millions of dollars. And so it makes that very difficult. And I think that would mostly be fine for everyone if they got rid of the API and they allowed everyone to send unlimited amounts to each other, or even like a bigger cap, even if it was like 50,000 cap or something like that. But again, the caveat they've put is both parties need Roblox Plus. Oh no, sorry, one party needs Roblox Plus, which is their new subscription. which I think is like $6 a month or something like that. And so, they have, in one hand, said, we're going to take less of a cut because you can now send Robux directly to someone and they're going to get all of that Robux, but you still got to pay us $6 a month. And so it still feels like kind of a kick in the teeth, to players, basically, because it really has just been done for Roblox Plus. It hasn't been done for anything else. And I'm very lucky that I run a sort of a leaks a news account on Roblox. From what I've heard from some Roblox staff, is very much like a very quick decision. This wasn't a planned out thing, and very much came very quickly after the earnings call last week. You may think, why after the earnings call? Like, Please Donate earns around an estimated sort of like $15 to $20 million a year. So they've basically just saved themselves $20 million by just killing this. There's probably not that much money in the grand scheme of things. Like, to me, that's a lot of money, but like to Roblox, I feel like that's not much. But yeah, I just find it baffling. Please Donate has worked with many brands. They have worked with like Adidas. They've worked with many musicians where they've done live events. It's been a really good selling point for Roblox. So it feels very odd to just go out and kill it.
I will also just say, from the perspective of people saying that it's investors don't want it, I just don't buy that. I think it's an easy blame on investors when the stock's down as much as it is, but I would bet that most investors, even investors who own Roblox, or large investors, don't know what Please Donate is. So it is kind of baffling, because it's just so there have been a few things like this, and then to see Kreek come out and say, I'm thinking about going to I'm taking my shingle and going to GTA, was like, whoa, this is kind of a serious moment.
I think you made a good point when we were talking about this yesterday. Like, to the overarching thing here is this team feels very reactive. These are, to James's point on the timing, and just in general, it feels like the tool in the boardroom right now is mops and brooms, right? Which you don't build anything with mops and brooms, right? But the point you made yesterday, Angie, about Kreek and everything else is like, normally you have these sort of hand wavy hyperbolic statements that are supposed to get a reaction, and I don't have the chops to know if he's being genuine or not, right? If that's meant to get a reaction. But we are now at a point where some of the reactions in both the investor community and the community to this reactive behavior is going to have to get a reaction, right? There are going to be some big effects, right? That hopefully can spur real change, and not this kind of reactive pawn moving. Like, they need to be moving their queens and rooks and bishops and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Eliza, what are your thoughts on this? And actually, the other thing I was going to say is, Keshav was going to talk about, we were going to save the Roblox AI news for later, but maybe, Keshav, you just want to give everyone a quick briefing, because I also wanted to hear your perspective, Eliza, as a creator, as an animator. Keshav, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I think most of these companies definitely have been trying to incorporate AI somehow into their building pipeline. And two of the announcements that came out last week have been Roblox and Unity. So Roblox, in their announcement, said they're launching a new product, or at least they will launch a new product later this year or early in 2027, and it's called Roblox Reality. The press release didn't have any mention of AI at all. But this is something that's going to use AI for sure. So they say this is an hybrid architecture system that's going to help Roblox builders create photorealistic experiences. So they're calling the tool Roblox Video Model, and creators will be able to generate AI-generated video graphics over the game mechanics and core architecture they build with Roblox's game engine. Obviously, in the past, Roblox has faced a backlash from creators whenever they've spoken about AI, and this product is associated with generative AI, which is a big no-no again. But to clarify what this really does, Roblox said that this is just gonna be a generative AI in the sense that this is a video model that is generating the pixels, but it is differentiated from a classical generative AI because it is asking another entity on the state of the world. So it can't change the world too much. Basically, it's gonna listen to what what the idea the creator had or what the world the creator has created, and then it's gonna build on top of it. It's just gonna amplify the way it looks. The other concern here with this announcement was in the earnings call. Dave Bizuki had said that Roblox Reality will not be a free product, which was baffling for a lot of creators. And to clarify what it meant, they said that Roblox Reality will not mean any additional fees on the creator side, but players who opt in to play this higher fidelity or Roblox Reality mode for the game are gonna end up paying a fee. So with players who don't pay the subscription, accessing non-upscaled versions of the game they play. So basically they're splitting the versions that you can have of a game into a non-upscale and an upscale version, and the players are gonna pay for it, not the creators.
This is baffling for a couple of reasons, but one is the fact that they are trying to promote these types of games, and most of the community want the old kind. But now we're going to pay for it?
And the community has to pay for it. Yeah.
It's like, you know, when you get someone like, I don't know, McDonald's are trying to sell like chicken wings. And you're like, guys, like your thing is burgers. Leave like chicken wings to like KFC. Like, they're so out of touch with what their community actually wants.
Yeah.
Well, something I was going to add too, and I feel like we saw this change a bit when they made the big sweeping change to like the face models. Eliza James, if you guys could give context on that one. But something that I think often about is like, Mike, I really liked your reference that they're coming at this with like mops and brooms. Some of these things would be mitigated if they just kind of reached out to the top community members and said, hey, we're going to make these changes because we're a growing platform. Things are changing. Of course they have to. Let's find a way to make sure we're not killing your business, right? Like it's as easy as that. Like, please donate. The avatar catalog creator, like those are massive community games. And I think like the whole point of this thing, UGC, is community. And if like the updates you're making are going to overnight kill a $20 million business that has been born from the platform you've created, I mean, that's amazing. That is an amazing thing that Roblox enables. Why is Roblox killing it? Why not say, we need to make these changes, but we would like to carve out something so that you can continue to function? Or if it's like the catalog creator, it's like, yeah, we want to bring more of the skin stuff in-house because we want to get more brand deals and do what Disney's doing with Fortnite. But we'll make you the flagship one and we'll enter into more of a partnership with you, right? Like these are kind of things that I think a platform should be thinking about versus just like, yep, we're going to kill it. Sorry. It's just a bummer to see. Yeah.
Well, don't give them that much credit, Miles. They didn't say sorry. They just said we're going to kill it.
Yeah, they were absolutely unapologetic in everything that they said. From my point of view, I mean, let's unpack a couple of things. One was, of course, was the AI and the generative video layer. This technology is a very interesting technology. Essentially, it is a rendering system, and not to be confused with something necessarily more than that. When you have AI generative mixed into it, obviously the sentiment is going to go down the drain, and currently rightfully so. There's a general kind of torches and pitchforks moment brewing across our global culture, even if you just take the reactions to the recent Met Gala. So we don't have a warm room in the least. And when they're doing these product adjustments and rollouts, and what I'm getting here is very much that there's this like laser focused steamrolling of features and and product development that they have in their line of sight of where they want to get from A to B, but they're doing that in a way with a devil may care attitude, which is absolutely also surprisingly part of the cultural moment. If I would like paint the picture of where we at in the cultural moment, We are in a place where leadership leads with impunity, set the stage by global leaders at this moment, showing the way that, we don't even ask for forgiveness. We will not ask for permission, and we will certainly not ask for forgiveness. And so far, so good. They're getting away with it. On the other hand, we are getting a large group swaths of very distressed citizens, across the world, about consumers and audiences who are now feeling incredibly conflicted about what they back, where they put their money. And when it comes to Roblox, it has been a people's place. So to see this conflict play out, certainly is not doing them any favors when it comes to the audience receptions. That warm room is getting colder. And I do think that we're heading for a fever pitch, a sort of might even have reckoning, might even have repercussions. You might actually have to come and ask for forgiveness. And I'm not even saying that when it becomes to the point where the audience no longer seems to be able to affect the conversation, it may be that governments step in, right? As we've seen with the social media bans, So I think that's where we're at. I think from an artistic developer point, it is so infuriating and so frustrating because we are entrepreneurs. I think that I said it this week. I feel like a lot of the platforms treat their creators with a patronizing, kind of point of view that we are all 15-year-olds, just throwing away an idea online and making pocket money so that we can go buy ice cream and watch the movies, as opposed to that there is a real lack of jobs and this is turning into real careers and livelihood, and therefore they actually have some responsibility to the careers, the livelihoods, and the businesses that they're building. I think that we're in a weird place, and as a developer, it would be very nice to know that they cared. And when they kill a $20 million earning, game, that's definitely suggests to me you really don't care. And if the money doesn't even make you care, where are we then, on that scale of what power do we have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just wanted to add one thing about this. I feel like Roblox is finally getting attention that they've been wanting for a really long time from traditional gaming. And right now, traditional gaming is going through this changes, and a lot of traditional developers are looking for a new home. And I know we've talked about UGC offers a lot of those developers home. But obviously, Roblox style is very different than what most people are used to. And it's what people love about it. It's also what traditional developers don't like about it, which I think is fine. But I think Roblox is trying to be oh, look, you can come to us. We're cool. You guys were the cool kids, but look, we're cool now. Come work with us. And forgetting about everything that made them Roblox. I think it boils down to trying to bring everyone onto the platform, and instead failing to attract anyone. The traditional developers are not happy. They don't want to go to Roblox, really. I mean, if we're honest, a lot of them don't want to. The current creators
They just don't get it. Mostly,
they don't get it, and that's okay. The current creators don't like it, and now investors are all right, well, you're really messing up. So it's not even just the two sides of it. It's every party involved is unhappy. And I just think they're really digging themselves into a hole every day with new updates on. It's not appealing to anyone besides them.
I think the part that we feel so infuriated by is that they have the analytics, they have the data, they have the community feedback, and they are willfully doing opposite. And when it comes to, for instance, that affinity, by the way, towards blocky, I want to say that this is a worldview industry bias that is erroneous, because I've been a character designer for 20 years. The reason the blocky, simple stuff work is because it makes it accessible to everyone. The more you make something photorealistic and detailed, you're actually excluding various cultures, races, individuals. But with the simplification, you're actually like opening up the affinity, like the affinity level for a wide group of people. This is why like the stick figure will continue to have a place historically in storytelling, because we all draw the stick figure. We all relate to the stick figure. That's like the very simplified version of ourselves. It really carries narrative, story, identity, and a lot of information in its lack of information. It carries better often subcontext and all these other things. And that's exactly why creators prefer to play with it. And so it's really interesting to me that the industry in itself has been obsessed with like niching themselves in to a photorealistic rendering version, when that doesn't hold the same power of mass appeal.
That is an excellent point. Yeah. Whew. Yeah, like I said, this was a heavy week. We had a lot of great discussions over the week. I would love, we can't leave without touching on so many things that came out on the AI front. Higher usage limits for Claude, compute deal with SpaceX and Anthropic. I'm just going to turn it over to you, Mike, to just kind of give us the quick hits.
Yeah, I think starting with the thing that you didn't mention that I think is actually a really big deal. We've been talking kind of all year about the power of agentic and how that's sort of taking over, from an economics perspective, what's really driving usage and the race for compute, but also just in terms of the most powerful UX that we're all getting used to and that enterprises are really leaning into. And of course, that's what led to the OpenClaw phenomenon, which is now sort of captive, albeit not released yet by OpenAI, because that team migrated over there. What we learned in the middle of this week is that Google through Gemini is definitively releasing an OpenClaw answer. So effectively a personal agent that will have complete access to anything you do in the Google Work suite. So Drive, everything from Drive and Gmail to even some of the more advanced applications. And I think that is going to, it's going to be incredibly powerful for people who have not gone through it's not really difficult coding. We've talked about this before, but like my 12-year-old son was able to navigate most of it. But it's a lift, right? But to have a personal agent that you can configure and can act on your behalf that is sort of blessed by Google security and, nerding out for a second, built on a TPU architecture. So within Google's compute architecture, that's going to be incredibly powerful. It's worth mentioning that Meta is also expected to release something similar, not on the same timeline. Probably it'll take a little longer. And it's not clear exactly what that'll be built on, because there'll be a huge difference between Meta's personal agent being built on Llama versus being open architecture or able to orchestrate between different LLMs. And I would tell you, as a preview of that, if it is Llama dedicated, it's going to fail. Fail in terms of adoption. Mm-hmm. If it is open architecture, it's got a good shot, because the advantage that Meta has in its business model versus everything else is they obviously have a huge number of users that touch Meta platform. And I'm actually thinking much more about WhatsApp, okay, than I am about Instagram and Facebook and everything else, because for most people, the way they communicate with their agents is in Telegram or WhatsApp today, right? So that's a really powerful entry point. And they have the ability to be neutral between Gemini, ChatGPT, and Claude. But we'll see. We don't know the answer to that yet. The other thing, sort of to your point, is the thing that is, continues to constrain Anthropic's meteoric rise now, and I say especially over the last 2.5 months with Claude adoption being through the roof, has been compute. So they are starting to solve that problem, meaning, and we've talked about this for a while, that from a business standpoint, they chose to invest in enterprise use cases, not as much. So they had the mix that was the opposite of OpenAI over most of 2025, which was 80-20 enterprise versus consumer, and OpenAI has been the opposite. Whereas OpenAI has invested hundreds of billions of dollars in compute, and Dario Amodei has sort of described that as sort of more YOLO style, and he didn't want to do that. Well, now he's playing catch up. We're seeing some of the evidence, to your point, Angie, on they are starting to dial up the limitations, or basically the point where when you're using the pro version of Claude, you're getting more usage before you have to buy more tokens. And that's good for consumers, it's good for adoption, but I think overall the important part of that phenomenon is we are getting towards marginal pricing, where people are actually thinking about, all right, if I do these tasks, it's going to cost me more, or it's not. And so that is driving up the ROI, the return on investment for these guys. But it also means they have to go out and acquire more compute. So the deals that we've seen done, I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, over the last 2.5 weeks, the deals that Anthropic have done has been the equivalent of $100 billion deal in total compute value with AWS, with Amazon, nearly $200 billion deal with Google for GCP and using TPUs, and then just in the last 36 hours or so, they announced a deal with SpaceX that's about the same size, maybe even as much as 300 billion commitment for SpaceX compute. Remember, XAI and the giant the superclusters that Elon Musk is building now all live within SpaceX. Elon Musk, like the money quote, as it were, from all the articles covering this, was that Elon Musk said that he met with Dario and others at Anthropic, and his evil detector didn't go off, so he's willing to do this deal. Now that's an inherent dig at Sam Altman because he's in this trial with OpenAI, and we'll leave that to the tabloids, I suppose, not covering that today. But I think that's actually important in that within the, AI is sort of politicized, especially with the Trump administration, and Anthropic has been the bad guy because they would not bend the knee to Trump. And in the course of this deal, not only are they getting more compute, but they're also kind of getting the blessing of Elon Musk a little bit in doing that. You're starting to see the U.S. government back off of its position vis-a-vis Anthropic, partly because they've diversified, or at least the Pentagon's diversified. But inside all of that, wrapped inside all of that, you're seeing Anthropic start to solve its compute problem by doing, I can't remember who the VC, there was someone else could, but I like this. They're doing deal jujitsu right now because they are having to cut very different deals in very different places to piece all this together. But it's kind of happening, and in my opinion, it's happening in a way that they're not overspending. They're buying compute when they've proven the demand, as opposed to, if you build it, they will come, which has been Sam Altman's approach. And all that being said, and this will be the last thing I say in here, we talked about this earlier in the week, Angie, but the new OpenAI, the ChatGPT 5.5 is getting rave reviews. Mm-hmm. So there is an argument to be made that in this constant leapfrogging of whose model is better and whose model is better, because Mythos, the latest Claude version, has not been released yet due to safety concerns, they are actually getting passed now by OpenAI. And so the improvements are constant. And so I just want to caution my bias as to sort of who, because I've been a big proponent of both Anthropic and Gemini, but OpenAI is making some real strides right now. So this is definitely not a count them out or someone's going to lose. It's just someone's going to win by less would be my...
Yeah. I definitely don't want to open a big political discussion on this because it's a can of worms, but David Sachs leaving the White House and these changes that we've seen with Anthropic feel at least like a thawing in the White House in terms of their stance toward Anthropic, and also maybe a restricting of this prior idea that just let everybody do whatever they want, and let the market decide. It feels like actually no, let's take this a little bit more seriously, and maybe we do need Anthropic in the mix. So do you?
Yeah, and I do think related to that, in terms of the starting to take AI security more seriously. This is somewhat reading political tea leaves, and this is not to say picking winners or any sort of more controversial stuff that's specific to the Trump administration, but in general, you're starting to see AI become a more political topic in the midterms. The sort of not in my backyard approach to data centers is a major topic on at the state level, and is
a great point.
becoming. You're actually in the one of the big races the congressional races in Manhattan. All three candidates are pretty famous. It's Schlossberg and George Conway, who's Kellyanne Conway's ex-husband, are running against Alex Bors, whose entire platform is regulate AI and open AI needs to be contained, right? So you are starting to see AI, and this is actually very much to Eliza's point on the pitchforks and whatnot, and the way they make their way into this is, I think, where some of this reactivity is happening, even in the administration, is because the political tea leaves are getting dunked in the water, and we're starting to see the tea.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, like I said, this was a heavy week, and we hope everyone has a great weekend. I'm going to actually end on a light note. We have no sponsorship deal with this. Miles just gave me this coffee. It's amazing. Thank you, Miles. And thank you for letting me use your office in New York City, on the New York City Note. So everyone, have a wonderful rest of your week. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week on the Game Souk. Thanks so much.